Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of the 2023-2024 EMOS webinars program. My name is Caterina Giusti. I'm professor of statistics at the University of Pisa in Italy. As a member of the EMOS team of my university, I'm working on the organization of this webinar program on behalf of Eurostat, together with the German company Startup. And today, I will act as the webinar moderator. Now, let me first explain for any newcomers that EMOS stands for the European Master in Official Statistics, a joint project of universities and data producers in the EU member states, EFTA, and EU candidate countries. If your university is interested in applying for the EMOS label, please consider that the permanently open call for universities is available on the EMOS dedicated page on the Eurostat website. For staying in contact with the EMOS news and community, please follow the EMOS Twitter. The Twitter handle is @EU_EMOS. It's now time to start with our webinar. Before I give the floor to our speaker, let me first briefly explain how we run the webinar today. As you can see, as the last program, EMOS webinar stream on Zoom. The webinar is recorded, and the recording will be uploaded on the EMOS YouTube channel, where you can already find the recording of the past webinars as well as of the past 2 EMOS workshops. As a participant, you can watch and listen to the webinar. You can also use the Q&A manager to pose your question to the presenter during the webinar. Our speaker will be happy to answer to your question during her presentation and, of course, at the end at the webinar. Should you have any technical problem or question, please send a message in the chat and you will be contacted by one of the members of the technical staff. So today, I have the pleasure to host Karin Blix. Karin worked at Statistics Denmark for more than 25 years, and the last 8 as the quality coordinator for Statistics Denmark. Before this, she worked as a researcher for about 5 years. Her experience is quite broad, since she worked in many statistical domains, using quite different data sources to produce statistics. And besides, she also defines herself as a user of statistics from the outside, as I think she will explain to us. So today, Karin will be presenting about approaching the challenges of the new data ecosystem. So Karin, the floor now is yours, and then I will be back when we have questions.
Thank you, Katarina. So now I will share my screen. Here. I hope everybody can see
Not
it.
On the funnel, we are on your email.
Are you on my email?
Yeah.
That's not so good, is it?
Yeah.
I'll stop sharing.
Yes.
Like this. And I share again. And I find my presentation there. And I say share. And
okay,
this looks like my presentation.
Now let's see full screen. Yes, that's perfect.
That's perfect. Good. Thank you so much, Katarina, for presenting me. So I'm Karin Blix. I will be talking about how we approach the challenges with the new data ecosystem in Denmark. So you will have some examples from Denmark. So in Denmark and other Scandinavian countries, Nordic countries, we have a long tradition of using administrative data sources for producing official statistics. So in this presentation, I will elaborate on how the Danish statistical system relies very much upon administrative sources and how this is also a base for exploring new data sources and what we do to ensure quality in official statistics in the new data ecosystem. So first of all, quality in statistics. I start with the last point, just to be on the track. So there is ISO, an international body for formulating standards, has defined quality as the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills requirements. So in other words, quality in statistics is the set of properties that statistics need to have to fulfill the user's need. So our starting point is the users and their needs. So in other words, again, fit for purpose. This is something we need to keep in mind all the time when we think about quality in statistics, because it has many sides. So first, I will say, go back to saying a little bit about the administrative data. So what are they? They are data which are originally collected by public authorities for their own purposes. So usually they are organized in a structured way in administrative registers, and they do have a valuable asset also for producing statistics. So the data flow, when we produce statistics from the data owner to the end user, is first, data are collected in the registers and will be used as a byproduct for producing statistics. So it's a byproduct of administrative routines. Then it's sort of given on to the statistical office, who produce statistics, create knowledge, and then in the end disseminate statistics to users in society. So the statistical information system. So first of all, in Denmark, we have 3 repositories, so to say, as a base for producing statistics. So first is person ID, the population register, where the person ID is the central figure, identification figure. And then we have dwelling and housing register. And here the address is the central ID. And then we have the business register, where the company ID is the central ID. And these 3, they sort of produce the base for statistical registers. So in the population registers, you have the person ID as something central to identify, and this person ID number is used in Denmark for everything. You cannot go to the doctor without showing it. You cannot do anything basically without showing your person ID, and this means that in any administrative register in Denmark where there is information about persons, you will have the person ID that makes it possible to connect with other registers. So these are both a lot of information on the persons as such, when they are born, who they are married to, all these things. And then you have the health registers, you have different social registers, and then you also have the tax registers. And the tax registers are also connected to the dwelling and housing registers. And then you also have the cadastre that sort of is the base in the address register. On the other side of the population register, you also have information on education and employment. And this does also have a connection to the companies. So because employed people will work in a company, and the company will be placed at an address. And this is also the case for the persons. They will be registered to live on an address, and this is how the whole system will work together. So the business register is all information about businesses, when they are established, how many employees, all these things, and it's related to customs, where they give information about all employees. It's also connected to the VAT and the XBRL, so we can draw accounting information from them. So this small, sweet little figure is sort of the base of the production of statistics in Statistics Denmark. And what we can do further is we have all this information in registers, but then we can also draw samples. And make questionnaires to send out, or we can make interviews. And this can be done both based on persons, on addresses, and companies. And this is the base for most of the statistics produced, official statistics produced in Statistics Denmark. So next, I have a couple of examples that I would like to show you, because now we go to the new data ecosystem. So first, we have some examples of exploring existing data sources. So I have put two examples up for you. One is the lifelines, we call them. This is an example of exploring existing administrative sources for new users. The other one is networks of opportunities, we call them. Another example of exploring existing administrative sources. I will get back to those. And then we have some new data sources. So the first example is that we use scanner data from the big grocery stores for price statistics. This is not new anymore. This has been done for many years, and it's done in many countries all over Europe. The next is the AIS position data for ships, and we use this for some experimental statistics on port calls. And the last one is data from smart meters on use of electricity. This is being explored for several uses, and I will show you one case. So first, the example with the lifeline. So the lifelines is longitudinal register. It is updated annually, and it shows individuals that have been part of the Danish population through their life courses. So it is based on population statistics, on the population statistics register. And here, all persons in Denmark are registered from 1986 to 2021, plus a little extraction from 1968. So each line is one person's presence in the population. As a period from birth to death, or a period from when the person gets into the population, either moves from the other country or is born or whatever. And when it stops, it's either because the person dies or moves out of the country. So, and the purpose of producing these lifelines is to form populations based on these lifelines. For instance, for extractions of cohorts, specific periods, age, length of lifelines, etc. And it can be used in many projects. So that was the first. The second one is based on the lifelines. And this is networks composed of what we call nodes. Those are the individuals, and edges. These are relations between individuals. And then also degree. And this is how many relations one individual has. That is edges per node. And this can be statistics on number of family members, number of colleagues, number of classmates, etc. And this can be used to study, for instance, segregation, how many one potentially knows, how many one potentially have had contact with, how many potentially have a university degree, 2 vacation homes, etc. You can go on. And you can use it for many things. You can use it for studying how something can spread through a network, sickness, education, employment, etc. So exciting for exploring many things. It would have been nice to have it before Corona, I think, to study some of the things happening then. So this is just pictures showing you in the left the number of nodes on the descriptive basis, and on the right side the number of edges. And another one with the same, where you have family connections on the one side, the nodes, and the other the edges. So just for illustration, not for going very deep into it, but it's very interesting to see. So how many relations there is between individuals. So you have out there on the very right side, you have the kind of relations, and that can be like, you can be a grandparent, you can be half siblings, nieces, nephews, parents, and so on. So just an example. And then going to the more explorative new data sources. So this is an example of use of electricity data from smart meters. So what we have is a database registry on construction projects, and we have access to smart meter electricity data on address level, and we have a machine learning estimation model correcting delays. And then we have quarterly statistics, and the issue is that we have administrative data on construction that is late and incomplete when we want to make our statistics. So our new approach here is to combine the electricity data with data about known construction projects, exploring patterns of interest, like identifying the different phases of the construction. So this has been in a pilot and a test to find a sample and follow the path through the registry. So the example I'm going to show you is actually the building of my colleague's vacation home. So this is a little personal, not for me, but for my colleague. So the point here is that you can see up in the, in the left corner, you can see where my colleague bought his land, and you can also see the timeline of the whole process. And then you can see the phases of his construction project in the bottom left corner. You can see he started building. And then you can see in the next picture on the bottom that the house is taking form, and then up in the right corner you can see that the house actually was completed. The beauty with the smart meter data is that they are available for an address with 8 days delay. And the problem with the registry is that it's late updated. So if you look at the numbers down there, you can see when we get information from the administrative registers that a permit has been issued to build. That's one. And then you can see the steps, commencing, and all these things. And what you can see is that the dates set for commencing and completion and use, they're not exact, because you can see where the curves start going up and down. You can see the use of electricity. And this we have verified with my colleague, and then you can see that you get the perfect match with the starting, the commencing of the building, and the way the building goes. And then you can see 3, that is where the completion is done, and then you can see the small jumps after. Those are the weekends when he started using the vacation home. And the thing with this is that we can actually verify it in the administrative data after some time. So so this might come into production to sort of support their first publications, disseminations of construction statistics on an experimental basis to start with. Okay, so this of course have many potential uses. First of all, as I just said, we can use it as a proxy for starting dates and all these things, and we can recognize some patterns of much electricity use. But we can also use it for other areas like charging of electric cars, identifying empty dwellings, and also assessing use of some houses, and maybe also in other kind of statistics, forecasting bankruptcies and things like that. So these are the funny things that we do with administrative data and new data sources. So I will say a little bit about how we ensure quality. So you stop me if you have questions. Otherwise, I'll just go on.
There is a question, Karin, I think like a curiosity, if you can use lifelines and electricity data to map inside the country, like different regions. I mean, I think the question refers if they are geographically located with precision inside Denmark, if can be used also in that way.
It can, and you can also see moving patterns within Denmark from one region to another. So you can identify many different patterns in the lifelines and combine it with also these networks.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting.
So when we use administrative data, there is a lot of cooperation with the data owners. And also when we are exploring new data sources, the key point for ensuring quality is a lot of cooperation with data owners. And the next is cooperation with the data providers. So one thing is whoever owns it, but like for the person register, it's each municipality that puts information into the person register. And like, for instance, for education, each school or university or whatever have administrative registers where all students are registered, and whatever subject they are studying, how long they're studying, all these things are in the registers, and this is extracted. But when we extract it, we do have a communication with the individual education facilities if we need to. So those are the basic things, a lot of cooperation with whoever owns the data and provides the information that are put in the administrative registers. So then after that, we have a methods unit in Statistics Denmark. This method unit helps with sample selection, optimizing the sample selection, standardized and modernized error detection, and then also a lot of other methodological issues. And then we have the quality unit, and this is where I am. We do a lot of quality assurance of documentation of statistics, so the quality reports. And this might seem like not such a big thing, but the thing is that we have to then understand how they produce the statistics to help them make good quality reports for the users. Then we also do quality reports, not quality reviews, I'm sorry, where we investigate the production of the statistical products from setting up the systems and going through the production processes, and not least how they approach the users and find out what their needs are. And then we also work a lot with standardization, and that for us is the generic statistical business process model. I will show it to you in a little while, and you might already know it. And then we have a coherent metadata system that I will show you a little bit. And then we have a data science lab in Statistics Denmark. This lab explore existing data sources, explore new data sources, and explore new methodologies. So when we first got the smart meter data, our data science lab used a lot of time investigating the quality of these data, and also investigated what it could be used for. And it's also the data science lab that have made these lifelines and networks of opportunities. And they also do a lot of investigation into new methodology. So these are sort of where we work with ensuring quality. I'll go a little bit more in detail.
Sorry, Karin, just a question, since you still refer to the lifeline. The question is, are some lifeline dataset examples available publicly?
I didn't catch your question.
If there are some examples of lifeline dataset that we can access.
I think they are available for researchers connected to the Statistics Denmark research services. And I think we have completed an analysis based on it. But I'm sorry, I don't have the reference for that.
Okay, so maybe we can check on Statistics Denmark website to have a look for, yeah.
Yeah, and there might be some tables in the stat bank, because I know they have mentioned it in their quality report on population statistics. So I guess there is a table, but I can send you the link to that.
Thank you.
Have it. So working with statistics, there is sort of a generic way to produce statistics. First of all, you have to specify your needs. That's the first column of the GSBPM, the generic statistical business process model. The next, when you have specified your needs and you find that it's the needs are there and you need to produce statistics about this, you designed a production system, and then you build your production system. And when you have done this, you can start collecting data. You can collect data from administrative sources. You can conduct surveys on samples. You can use already published statistics. You can do many things. You can collect data in many ways. But you collect data first, and then after that you process your data. This can be many things. This can be integrating data from many sources. It can be classification and coding, and not least review and validate. And then also not least edit and impute whatever is missing in your in data. And then you can derive new variables, whatever you need, and you have processed your data, and you have a data set that looks like something you want to disseminate. But first of all, you analyze. And then you analyzing, you look at your final data set, comparing it to other data sources you might have. You compare it to earlier periods, all these things, and you figure out whether these are the final data you want to or statistics you want to publish, and then you publish it. And when you have published it, you can evaluate the whole process, and you can maybe figure out that the users were not that happy. You can figure out that the collection was not efficient, the processing was not efficient, and then you can go back to your system and open up and adjust. And this is the base for continuous improvement. And this is sort of a concept in quality in statistics. So I don't know, you have probably not produced statistics yourself. I'm guessing, I don't know. but this is just my favorite description of the production of statistics. So starting out at the left side, producing statistics is trying. When we do that, we are trying to say something about some phenomenon out there in the reality, the objective reality we call it. And when you figure out something in the reality you want to have more information about, you have some ideal statistical characteristics that you seek information about. So there is an ideal population, there are ideal variables, and there are true values to these ideal variables. The thing with the objective reality is that we cannot make statistics directly from that. We need to sort of conceptualize the reality. And when we do that, we act as designers or architects, deciding what sources we want to use and all these things. So then we have the reality as it is conceived and operationalized by the designers or the statisticians. And this means that we move towards the statistical frame characteristics, and we might have a frame population, we have variables that can be measured, and we have values then that also can be measured. So, but doing this, we already make some discrepancies from the reality. And this will be coverage, a first kind, depending on your frame population. It will be, maybe you need to do some sampling, and not least, it will be the operational definition of the variables. And this is very often an issue using administrative registers for your statistics production. The variables that you can get from administrative registers, they are sometimes a little bit off compared to the objective reality you want to measure. But you just remember this and keep that in mind. So the next step is receiving your data, either through the administrative registers or through questionnaires or whatever. But anyhow, you have the reality as it is presented by data. And this is the reality as it is perceived by respondents and those who are filling in the information in the administrative registers or responding to a questionnaire or whatever. So coming here, you get new discrepancies, coverage in another kind, respondents that cannot be found, respondents that refuse to answer, and those who misinterpret or make mistakes. And these things can happen both in surveys and in administrative data. So as statisticians, we know about these discrepancies, so we try to fix them. So we do some processing, we do some compilation, but then we can get new discrepancies either from processing errors or the model assumptions that we make. So this is all good, and we get to the point where we can finish the statistics and disseminate it to the users. And then you have the users out there on the far right who will interpret the statistics from the frame that they are in. So this can differ from the frame that we are in. And this model explains both how we produce statistics and also why it's important for us to tell the users what the objective reality was, how we conceptualize the reality, what we can expect from the data we get, how we have processed and compiled to get closer to the objective reality, so we can address any discrepancies that might still be left for the users to be able to figure out whether the statistics still are fit for their purpose or not. So this was maybe a little bit further out than you expected to come, but I will go from here to say something about metadata, how important it is. Because the metadata is what we use to explain the users, how we got about to get the finished statistics that we have. So there are two types of metadata. The structural metadata, they're used to identify statistical data and so on. And then you have the reference data. Reference metadata, it describes the content and processing and all these things. A lot of my colleagues, they say that the most important thing is to produce the figures. And that is true. But the problem with figures, they very often say the figures speak for themselves. So I have an example here. Statistics without metadata. So in the first, we have 2.8 million and then 2.9 million. And then we have, in the other one, we also have 2.8 million and 2.9 million. And you can say the figures speak for themselves, but without metadata, you don't know what this is. So the first one is actually the population in Denmark divided by men and women in 2018, the third quarter, and the unit is number. And the second one is actually the real estate market value of one family houses in 2016 in 2 municipalities in Denmark. And it's and the unit is average market value in Danish kroners. So the metadata are actually quite important. So these are the structural metadata. And then we have the reference metadata. We have them in quality reports. And we have chosen in Statistics Denmark to present the quality reports. We call them documentation of statistics, where we give an introduction. This is, we tell the purpose of the statistics, the frames that we work within. We present this frame, what classifications are used, what's the unit, the population, all these things. And we tell about the statistical processing, what are the data sources, how do we collect data, how do we validate it, how do we compile it. And then we have a description of the 5 classic quality indicators. And this is important. Quality is not only about accuracy and reliability. It's also about relevance, that there are users out there that need the statistics. It's also about timeliness. You can get data fast or after a long time. If it's after a very long time, you might not need the information anymore. And then you need to know about comparability and accessibility and so on. So these are in these boxes, we put all the information that you saw in the figure about the statistical production. Approaching users, we have very different user profiles in a statistical institution. We have the general public, we have specially interested parties, we have professional users and analysts and so on. And what we have tried to do in Denmark is to approach these users in different layers when we present the documentation of statistics. So I have here just an example of documentation of statistics for climate footprint, which is an experimental statistics. But what you can see here is the presentation that we sort of give the general population. Or the journalists. But then if they are very interested, they can press on the blue where you see read more about the statistical presentation or read more about statistical processing, or out on the left side, you can press on any of the topics. You can also just call the person responsible for the statistics. But then when you press on the statistical presentation, you get more detailed information about this. And that's for the more advanced users. So in Statistics Denmark, we work with a mission of coherent metadata. and that is metadata that can be used in the whole, in the entire production process. And it is also metadata that is interconnected. So starting on the very left side, you have the input in the production process. And the production process is represented by the GSPPM, the process model. So when we have surveys, we aim at having all the questions in as metadata that can be used in the whole production production process. And then during the production process, we do validation, talk with the data suppliers, visual inspection, aggregation, and for this we use metadata. And then on the output side, you have, first of all, what I just showed you, the documentation of statistics, but you also have classifications and also microdata on data series and variables, and then also on related to the stat bank tables. And we also have definitions of concepts, and all these things are interconnected and can be used in a coherent way. So that was it. So the conclusion is at Statistics Denmark, we are constantly discovering new applications and gains from having a single system-based approach to metadata, reporting and storage. So everything about new data sources and all these things go into one storage of metadata, which is the basic for our quality work. And then in combination with a dedicated and expanding team of quality practitioners, principles of relevance, accuracy, and reliability, and so on are becoming routine and synonymous with the way we do business on a daily basis. That was what I had prepared for you. So thank you for your attention. So are there any questions?
Yes, maybe
comments.
One. Okay, so do you think that other European National Statistical Institute work in the same direction as Statistics Denmark?
Oh, yes.
You also have a feeling about that.
Yes. Well, definitely. We have all the Nordic countries do use a lot of administrative registers for their production of statistics, and have very much the same access to administrative data sources in their production of statistics. So, but I think Denmark was one of the first countries using administrative sources more massively and connecting more. So in some ways we are first movers, but then in some ways we are also learning from our colleagues.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, I received also another question that you mentioned also scanner data, the use of scanner data. If you can just give a glance on how you use scanner data. I think
yeah, so I think that the three largest grocery companies in Denmark, there are three large ones. They cover 70% of the grocery market. They have accepted to give Statistics Denmark their scanner data every month. And Statistics Denmark use those scanner data. Actually, we do take a sample because it's really a massive, amount of data. So we do take a sample from the scanner data and use it for our consumer price index.
Yeah, I guess this is also in Italy. So you use it for inflation measures, consumer pricing. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, thank you. So on my side, I think that, yeah, the issue of quality is very important. For us as professor, of course, we are at the university, so it's not easy to have examples and to make students understand the the importance of this. Of course, you have the documents also by Eurostat, but I think on this maybe what is nice is that our students have usually the possibility, I mean, no, they have to also do an internship in a data producer institute, mainly usually is the National Statistical Institute. So maybe I think that working there in some ways maybe could help them. I don't know, otherwise if you have any suggestion on how to I mean, get more insight of this issue of quality, maybe your documentation, as you said, when once you use statistics, because sometimes we just go on using the data.
So
you had the question on downloading the data, but maybe, I don't know if you have suggestions, or maybe spend also time in reading the reports. And yeah,
I think that could be valuable, yes. But if you want to explore the statbank.dk has a huge amount of tables on all corners of interesting statistics on society. Each of the tables in the StatBank are linked to documentation of statistics. So you can go in, you can play with the data, and then you can read about the statistics in the documentation of statistics. So that could be a way if you are not lucky enough to get an internship in National Statistical Office.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another two questions. One, I will read it, but maybe we need a specification, because it's, can you give an example, explain further interpreted statistics? I don't actually understand. So maybe I ask if you can formulate again the question. The other one is how long it takes from when you request access to an administrative register to when you get access. Which obstacle? And is it from Stefano Buzzini, Eurostat?
Well, Denmark must have been a first mover when it comes to access to administrative data, because in the Act on Statistics Denmark from 1966, which is a couple of years ago, it was already given there that if there existed administrative data or on something that Statistics Denmark would produce official statistics on, they were obliged to deliver the data to Statistics Denmark for producing statistics. So in Denmark, there are no obstacles at all on getting access to administrative data. And well, we completed the first all administrative-based census, population census in 1980. So this goes way back in Denmark, and all the new things that we are getting are maybe some administrative registers that are not as solid and well, how do you call it, administrated as the three big ones. But then we do a lot of communication and cooperation with the owners and whoever supplies the information in the administrative registers.
So I don't see any other questions for the moment. I'm just curious to ask what's next. I mean, if you have some new interesting projects or use on new data.
Well,
yeah.
Some of the things we are working on right now is the methods to recognize text, to use that. Right. Okay. And we also have a project on using satellite photos, which I know that many other countries also use for different purposes. Right now, we're just, figuring out the quality of them and compare. We use it all the time in connection with administrative sources. And we have also some health data. We have some how do you call it? Well, different health data we also have, and combine it with these networks and lifelines. So we've had one project exploring people who are more than 100 years old. So how come they become this old? Is it something where with the connections they have to others? Is it something with the environment where they grew up, spent most of their life, and so on? Yeah, we have many interesting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a unit making analysis, but they only mostly write their analysis in Danish. So that might not be so accessible for most of you.
Yeah, I understand, but that will be very, very interesting, I think. Also, yeah, the use of the life lines also in health statistics, that will be very interesting. But okay, we know. Who knows? We will follow your work as statistician. Yeah. So I don't see any other questions. So I think we can conclude. So thank you, Karin, for this very interesting presentation, and many thanks to all our participants who joined us today. As participants, you are invited to fill in a short survey about today's webinar. The survey will open your browser just after the end of this Zoom meeting. If you don't have time right now, you will receive a link by email to fill in the survey later on. We really appreciate your feedback to further improve our webinars. So the next webinar is scheduled on November the 21st, when we'll have the pleasure to host 3 speakers from Statistik Austria, Kovarik, Mendel, and Gus Bauer, who will be presenting on statistical disclosure control and synthetic data generation using R. So we will focus also on some software for our students. So for these and future webinars, please keep an eye out for our website, imos-events.com. So thank you again, Karin, and I wish everybody a good evening.
Good evening, and thank you so much.